Good morning, everybody. Okay, now that's the AVID response. It is my distinct honor and privilege to get to speak here in front of you this morning and to tell you my AVID story. But first, before I tell you my story, I have a confession to make. I cannot help but stand up here and think about, wow, what would my middle school and high school teachers think of me now? They would be shocked. Shocked that I went on to college, shocked that I chose education as a profession, and shocked that I was asked to come and speak in front of you this morning. You see, because as a student, I did not care about school. I didn't care to go to school, so why would I want to work at one? AVID is why. In my intro, you heard all the different roles that I have served in AVID, but the one that was left out is I was an AVID student. I was not an AVID student in the sense that I had the opportunity to take the AVID elective class. I was an AVID student in the sense that I would have been the perfect candidate. When I was in high school, Mary Catherine Swanson's experiment in education and social reform was just in its infancy. But again, if it was at my school, I would have been the perfect AVID student. I grew up in a large household where sometimes making ends meet was a struggle, and grew up in a neighborhood where just graduating from high school seemed like a great accomplishment. But my parents instilled in me a value of education, even though they themselves had their education limited to them as children. They would always say to me, "Mijo, education is the one thing that no one can ever take away from you." Even though they instilled this value in me, they didn't always have the resources available to help me achieve these academic expectations. And thus began my personal achievement gap. My parents spoke those words of wisdom into me, but as most kids at the time, those words of wisdom just kind of passed through me like all other words of wisdoms and those things of what was best for me. But they planted a seed in me. That seed, fortunately, received some nurturing when I got to middle school in the form of Mr. Piper, my 7th and 8th grade core teacher. He was an amazing teacher. He would push us academically and tell us to think critically, and he would not accept anything less. He would have been an amazing AVID teacher. As I stated before, as a student, I did show academic potential, but I never did live up to that potential. Middle school found me with 2 years of report cards that read, "Student not achieving up to potential." But Mr. Piper pushed me, and in his class, I did well. I cared about what he thought about me, and I did not want to disappoint him. Unfortunately, they were not all Mr. Pipers. High school is where my academic potential succumbed to low expectations. Low expectations of myself, and by my teachers. They had come to expect nothing from me, and this is the one time I did not disappoint them. I learned that it was okay to fail, and that there was no one at school who cared if I did, because nothing happened. This message of acceptable failure was not something that the school said to me directly. It was not one of their mottos. It was not something that you would see on a t-shirt from the school. It was one of those unintentional messages that more often our students hear louder and clearer than our intentional messages. I decided if no one else cared at the school if I failed, then why should I? So I stopped trying. I gave up. Because of my apathy and mediocre performance, my school officials stopped pushing me towards a college track. They allowed me to take an academic side road that when I graduated limited my choices. I needed AVID. After graduation, I find myself where many of our students find themselves, lost with no direction. Thank God my parents encouraged me to continue my education. Or let me clarify that. It was more like a threat. If I didn't continue my education, I was going to have to go out there and make it on my own in the real world. And that was far scarier to me than being lost. So I restarted my education at a community college. It is there where some professors saw not only my potential, but what I could achieve, and they pushed me to do that. They gave me the skills, knowledge, and support necessary to achieve and fulfill my potential. And that's when I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to help students fulfill their potential. I wanted to make sure that when they graduated, they had choices available to them. Again, I needed AVID, but this time, AVID found me. As a new teacher at Vista High School, Brenda Hall, one of their coordinators, had approached me about this AVID thing. I didn't know anything about it, but quickly learned Cornell Notes, binder organization, and that people involved in AVID are very determined themselves. It did not take much for me to buy in when I found out what was at the heart of AVID, because I realized this was the vehicle that I needed to achieve my goals as an educator. AVID is a system that doesn't save students. AVID is a system that equips students to save themselves. It is what I had needed as a student but didn't have, but it's exactly what I was looking for as an educator. AVID gave me the tools and support I needed to achieve the high expectations I had set for myself. I wanted to change the lives of my students. AVID provided the opportunity for me to connect with students in a meaningful, purposeful, and deeper way. AVID continues to support my growth as an educational leader. In every step of my professional growth, AVID has been there. My AVID students are my adopted children and continue to be so to this day. They are part of my AVID family that includes many of the people in this room here this morning that I have had the extreme fortune to get to work with over this past decade. They are passionate educators and passionate about student achievement, just as I am. The support of AVID goes far beyond the four walls of a classroom or the confines of a school campus. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with a very serious medical condition. As the enormity of the situation settled in, I thought to myself, what would I ask my AVID students to do in this situation? And I did just that. I began to think critically about the situation, posed some higher level questions to ask my doctor, pulled together a team of experts, including families and friends, were going to be my medical support team, and researched what I needed to do to overcome this challenge. But absolutely, most importantly and most critically, my AVID family was there for me. They reached out to me and supported me in ways that you would not believe. I got support from students, colleagues, and many people in the extended AVID community. I was overwhelmed with the support, but not surprised. That is the AVID way. I know I can count on AVID, and so do our students, and that is why it is so successful. Yes, AVID provides students with the tools and support necessary to be successful in the most rigorous curriculum, and yes, AVID is a college readiness system that changes the way schools serve students and its community. Yes, AVID has a wealth of data that will show its success, and more importantly, the success of its students. But most importantly, students know they can depend on AVID. Many times, AVID is the only thing these students can depend on. Knowing that AVID is there for them allows them to take the risk necessary for them to be engaged in their learning and to become college ready. AVID changes the trajectory of their lives and the lives of their families. And isn't that why we all got into education? to make a difference? AVID can and will support you in this, and that support begins this week as you experience some of the greatest professional development out there by some of the most amazing staff developers. And I do not just say this because I am one of them. You'll also have time to collaborate with your colleagues to create a plan on how to utilize AVID to have a strong impact at your school sites and to impact all students. You will have the opportunity to plant the seed of change and gain the tools necessary to continue to nurture this growth. For many of you, this seed has already been planted, and this time will serve as an opportunity to recharge, refocus, and continue the growth. Wherever you are in your AVID journey, I promise you, you will find this Summer Institute meaningful, purposeful, and inspirational. I want to take this time to thank some people without whom my life might not have turned out as it has, and without whom I probably would still be living a life of unfulfilled expectations and accepted failures. First of all, my parents, Renato and Dalia Solis, for planting the seed in me and instilled the value of education, and especially my mother, who is my greatest role model as to what it means to serve. Thank you, Mom. My brothers and sisters, for encouraging me to reach for my dreams and supporting me as I struggled to do so. Mr. Piper, for nurturing me and that seed and for believing in me. Mary Catherine Swanson, for having the courage, determination, vision, and passion to grow AVID to what it has come to today. My AVID family, for your love and support, always. My children, both at home and my AVID children, for inspiring me to continue to do better. And a special thanks to my wife, Dory, without whom I literally may not be standing here in front of you today. I love you. Thank you. Lastly, I want to thank each and every one of you who are here and for being here. AVID always draws the highest quality of educators because, like me, you see how AVID can help you change the lives of the students. And your commitment to be here, to make this change, inspires in me hope for education and for our future. I am fortunate to get to be with you here this morning, and now you will get to have a great week. Thank you all very much.